Breaking Bad is a story filled with intensity, transformation, and unforgettable characters, but what truly makes it a masterpiece are the heartbreaking moments that stayed with us long after the show ended. These are the moments that made us silence everything around us, take a deep breath, and feel the weight of the choices these characters made. And today, we're looking back at the most devastating scenes in Breaking Bad. The scenes that broke us, shattered the characters, and changed the direction of the story forever. Let's begin with Jesse Pinkman, a character whose journey is filled with pain from the very start. One of the earliest heartbreaking moments comes when he discovers the body of Jane. His love for her was one of the few things that grounded him, one of the few things that gave him hope. And yet, he wakes up to find her lifeless beside him, not knowing that Walter stood in the doorway and watched her die. Jesse blames himself, carries that burden for years, and that guilt shapes everything he becomes. It's one of the most emotionally brutal moments in the entire series. Another devastating moment is the death of Mike Ehrmantraut, the calm, disciplined, honorable man in a world with none. Mike knew the risks of the business, but he also believed in loyalty. When Walter shoots him out of anger and Mike sits near the river, accepting his fate, it's one of the show's most silent, powerful moments. Walter tries to apologize, but Mike shuts him down, saying exactly what we all felt. Walter could have avoided all of this. Watching a proud man die in peace because there's nothing left worth fighting for hit harder than most deaths in the show. And then we have the moment that broke Jesse completely, the revelation that Walter poisoned Brock. When Jesse pieces it together, the realization hits him like a truck. He screams, he cries, he shakes with rage and betrayal. This wasn't just manipulation, it was Walter tearing apart the last bit of innocence Jesse had. In that instant, Jesse understood exactly what kind of monster Walter had become. And speaking of Jesse, one of the most horrifying and heartbreaking arcs is his captivity by the neo-Nazis. The scene where Jesse sits in the dark, chained like an animal, forced to cook for them while being tortured physically and mentally, shows a level of suffering rarely seen in television. But the most heartbreaking moment of all comes when he tries to escape, sees Andrea, and realizes instantly what's about to happen. Todd shoots her in cold blood, and Jesse's scream, a scream of pure hopelessness, is something fans will never forget. Walter White's relationships also give us some of the show's most painful scenes. The fight between Walter and Skyler in the kitchen, when she finally breaks down and admits she's terrified of him, is a raw look at how far Heisenberg has gone. He tells her he's done everything for the family, but she sees the truth. Walter's choices were no longer about survival. They were about pride. Another heartbreaking moment comes when Hank confronts Walter in the garage. He looks him in the eyes and says the man he loved, the man he respected as family, is gone. Hank's disappointment, fear, and anger all collide in one explosive moment, and we realize the spiral is reaching its point of no return. And then, the desert. Hank's death. A scene so heavy that fans still struggle to rewatch it. Walter begs for Hank's life, offering all his money, but Hank accepts his fate with dignity. He knows men like Jack don't negotiate. His final words, "You're the smartest guy I ever met, but you're too stupid to see he made up his mind 10 minutes ago."
You're the smartest guy I ever met, and you're too stupid to see. He made up his mind 10 minutes ago.
Are heartbreaking, not just because Hank dies, but because Walter has to watch the consequences of his actions unfold in front of him. Yet even after all of this, the show gives us one final emotional hit: the ending. When Walter finds Jesse in the compound, broken, scarred, and barely alive, the two characters who started this journey together look at each other for the last time. Walter frees him, giving Jesse the one thing he lost for years: a choice. And Jesse drives away screaming, not in joy, but in pain, in trauma, in release. As for Walter, he walks through the lab, touches the equipment one last time, and accepts his end. After everything he became, after all the destruction he left behind, he dies alone, surrounded by the one thing that started it all: the chemistry he loved. Breaking Bad isn't just a show about drugs or crime. It's a story about consequences, transformation, and the price people pay for their choices. And these heartbreaking moments are what make it unforgettable, because behind every explosion, behind every deal, behind every lie, there was a human cost. And that's what stays with us long after the final credits roll.